So I will say it started at 14 when I got pregnant. So as a young girl, I was a tomboy. I loved to be outside and play. Somewhere I had a little too much time on my hands, and the first time ended up being that time. And so I will say that going through that at such a young age, my great grandmother told me, she said, if you don't know who you are, anyone can tell you who you are. So I lived by that mantra. And so that's why I started to learn about attitude and how I showed up as a person. And I always was a loving person, always. Like, even as a kid, people always talked about how sweet I was, how loving I was. I was very much so a person that loved to take care of others. And it just so manifested that I had this little person that I had to take care of. And so I wanted to be a woman that my daughter could look up to. And so I was very intentional about the movements that I did. I didn't cuss. I didn't hang out, in front of her. I didn't drink in front of her. I never smoked. So I wanted to be very intentional about the things that I did. I had very supportive parents that allowed me to continue to go to school. And so we had the agreement. I went to school, kept my nose clean, got good grades. I got to play sports. I did all the things, but I was a mother first. And so with that came a lot of challenges of dealing with people that didn't believe that a 14-year-old pregnant person could be anything. So I had to hear a lot of that. I had to hear a lot of self-doubt. I had to get strong in my mind that while I use that as fuel to go, yeah, y'all don't tell me who I am. I'm gonna show you who I am. I can tell you better that I can show you better than I can tell you. And so that was the mindset that started it. Along the way, of course, not too long after that, I ended up having cervical cancer. And I had to learn about emotions, and emotions of not really understanding what I was young. I was still a teenager. And I was told that I needed to have a hysterectomy. And I was like, I don't want to do that because at some point I do want to have a family and I want to have I want to have children. And so I chose not to. So I went through a lot of physical pain. And that even messed with my mental because I was in so much pain that I couldn't live the life I wanted to live. Like I was in constant pain. And so it would mess with my mental because my body wasn't my own. It was whatever it was going to do. And so I went through that for quite a bit of time. And depression set in because I couldn't move around the way I wanted to. And then knowing that my menstrual was coming and it was going to be painful. And so that started to mess with my mental. Luckily, my son's father that I was with at the time, he was actually supportive and understanding that I would go through those dynamics. And so he would, help my daughter with her homework. So support is a big thing when you're going through a chronic illness. While they were able to remove the cancer, they weren't able to save me from the pain because she told me I was going to go through this. And so she was right. And I ended up having a hysterectomy at 28 years old. I went through another series of duress. And that became more physical and mental because now I don't feel as a whole woman because I don't have a uterus. And so me and my son's father split, and now I can't have any kids. And so I'm like, would any man ever want me? Because I can't give him children. And I was young, I was 28 years old. And so I always have been a person that I love. And I think that we were built for pairs. And so I knew at some point I would want to have a long enduring relationship again, but how would that look? And so I went through another depression of not feeling like a whole woman. Been through a couple of abusive relationships even prior to all of this. So it's just been this journey that I have been on to really provide myself a way of making it through this life on this planet. I do believe we're all spiritual beings just having a human experience. And so me being in this body, I had to make the best of it. And I had children. I have two children. And being a single mother, I was not willing to allow any of my circumstances to dictate their future, not even my own, but theirs. And so I went to school and worked full time and raised two children. And I will just say perseverance and resilience came by the way of the tools that I was able to build, but mainly the support that I got and received because I allowed myself to to go through the things and build the tools that allowed for me to be open to others being able to support me. And it was a journey.
I can't even begin to tell you